Hello and welcome back to the channel. LC here, back with some fresh Multiversus tips to help everyone get into the groove in this new game. With the beta launching in about 2 days, I gotta say, from the onset I was pretty on the fence about this game, but after about 3 hours I was completely hooked. So much so that I thought it actually might be in order to make a few videos for other people looking to step into the arena. So today's video will be 10 tips to help you out in Multiversus. So to start off with, the game's tutorial is actually surprisingly in-depth and very competent. So I'm going to make this guide under the assumption that you at least skimmed through that and not waste too much time reiterating what was already stated there, because they did a pretty good job at that, I like to think. Also, if you're watching this tutorial and enjoying Multiversus, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. There's going to be a lot of content for Multiversus coming out on this channel. I'm really digging the game, so I'm probably going to do character guides, stage guides, skill guides, everything like that. So make sure you subscribe for future content coming. So let's talk about class types. So Multiversus has 5 different class types, from mages, tanks, support, assassin, and bruiser. Now this is something that's a little different when it comes to other platform-based fighters, and these archetypes exist in all the other games. So we're going to go through these one at a time and kind of how these classes, so to speak, are designed to be played. So starting off with mages, these are going to be your quote-unquote keep away, characters that go in the back, set up shop, essentially just flood the screen full of shit. You know the type. The 2 characters currently that we have that fit this role are going to be Bugs Bunny and Tom and Jerry. So they're going to really excel being far away from the opponent because they have a lot of projectiles and stuff like that. They do still have some up close and personal moves, but they really excel being further away. So that's going to be part of the game plan with them. And then moving on, we have tank type characters. These are going to be your heavy duty type characters with a lot of armor, just armor galore. These are going to be Superman, Iron Giant, and Wonder Woman. So for this class, it's really going to be about absorbing hits and kind of having that armor on your character in order to not get interrupted. That's going to be a huge focal point when it comes to this. They also are going to take additional damage in order to be KO'd. If you see, just through playing out matches and stuff like that, they probably can easily get over 100% before they actually start flying back with a lot of knockback. So it's going to be a little harder to actually kill these type of characters, and they work extremely well with like support-based characters. If you get something to juice these characters up, they become right menaces on the field. So keep that in mind when playing them. And then jumping over to the support class, in essence, the main prerogative of this entire class is to juice up and enable your teammate, and they really have an emphasis on shutdown. The characters in this class are Velma, Ryan Dog, and Steven Universe. All 3 of these characters, from what we've seen so far, are insane when it comes to just like supporting from the back end. Characters like Velma, I think, are actually the best character for support. Their entire toolkit just does so much, and they can juice up that point character so much. It's really quite incredible. Characters like Steven Universe, be able to put that shield out. Ryan Dog, you might think that characters like Ryan Dog are like, oh, he's not really doing that much, but you actually see, how much damage they actually do passively, and they do of course have knockout moves, but their entire point is just to support the main character. They're not really meant to be in the fray too much, but if they kind of get in the back just a bit, they can definitely set up shop and make things quite miserable when it comes to 2v2. I would say these characters definitely excel more in a 2v2 format than a 1v1 for sure. And then rolling on, we have assassins. These are meant to be quick and agile based characters designed to overwhelm enemies and keep them on their toes. Their ability to traverse the map, they can normally get around the map very quick between just like their jump cancels and everything like that. They are very nimble. They can get in, get out. Unfortunately, they do fall into the archetype of glass cannons, and they do also take additional 14% additional damage from all sources. So if you are in there and you're unsafe, they can easily get clapped by like a bruiser or a tank or something like that. So you really have to pick your spots quite well when it comes to that. And the characters that fall into this class are going to be Arya Stark, Harley, and Finn. So be careful when you play these characters. They can definitely dish out a lot of damage, but they can also be extremely fragile. If you get run into something like Taz Tornado, you can easily die like 70% depending on if you're DI and stuff like that. We'll be covering that now in the next video, talking about Taz and how to deal with Tornado. And then for our final class, we have Bruiser. These are the aggressors. They have a very strong kit designed to inflict as much damage as possible and to finish enemies off quite quickly. The characters that fall into this class are Batman, Shaggy, Garnet, Taz, and Jake the Dog. So these characters are really out there just to really like raise hell. That's really the entire purpose of them being out there. They inflict a lot of damage quite easily. They're also pretty mobile from what I can see. Like these characters can get around, with the exception of maybe Garnet, they can get around pretty quick as well. And if they hit you, you're going to feel that. They don't have like quite the armor as tank characters, and they're easier to KO than tank characters, but they excel in dishing out a lot of damage, so keep that in mind. And then moving on to our second section, we're going to be talking about vertical, horizontal, and hybrid based playstyles. So if you notice right here on the screen, it either says vertical, hybrid, or horizontal as far as what the character excels in. Now this is something also that exists in other platformers as well. Now, in Smash, it might have actually taken a bit of time to lab to identify which avenues certain characters excel in, but Multiversus actually does us a favor by just letting us know right out the gate, hey, this character is vertical, horizontal, everything like that. I love that, actually. And it's going to help you really hone your game plan quite quickly. You know, let's take somebody like Harley, for example. Vertically, they are very superior, you know, between the explosion and everything like that, the confetti shot, the bat, she can definitely get it done. And characters like Garnet are ridiculous on the ground. Like, just look at this, like the horizontal approaches just really works out for them. And there's also going to be a fair amount of characters that are just listed as hybrids, which means they can kind of play a bit of both, not really excel in either one of them, but they're not going to be at a loss if they're in the air or something like that, so keep that in mind as well. And then moving on to passives. Most of the cast has a passive ability of some type, ranging from getting items out the box with Bugs to calling the feds with Velma. So even if you don't main all the characters in a game, no one's going to expect you to play the entire cast, it's generally a good idea to look at the move list in training mode to see what tricks they may have up their sleeve. Also, quick FYI for anybody that didn't know, you have access to all the characters in training mode, whether you've paid for them or not. You can use them, so you can like fight against them and stuff like that. While you're there, also feel free to take notes what debuffs and buffs each character has at their disposal. Very critical for 1v1 or 2v2 based gameplay. And then moving on, at number 4, we have movement. Let's talk about moving out there on the field. So to start off with, this game doesn't have a traditional dash mechanic. All characters have varied walk speed, and the fastest options you have to traverse the map will be either dodging or by utilizing short hops canceled into other special moves. This is going to be the fastest way to kind of get around, so let's take a look at that. As you can see here, most characters' run speed is actually more than serviceable, although running in a straight line is quite linear, and a really good way to get bopped in the face is running in a straight line. This is where mixing up your approach by ways of jumps, double jumps, and special moves will help catch your opponent off guard and give you the end to inflict some pain. Also of note, coming out of a dodge is one of the only ways to keep your forward momentum when attempting to attack, so use it to close the gap with opponents. Movement typically is a hallmark of most Smash style games and is one of the key differentiators between bad and good gameplay. Getting down swift movement will help separate you from the pack with ease. And coming in at number 5, we have cancels. Canceling is short for canceling the animation of one move into another. Speaking of cancels, this is a property that's also pretty unique to Multiversus in the way that they handle it. You can cancel normal strings into specials, jumps, dodges. This is a great way to perform extended strings and combos and land severe punishment on your opponent. But the facet I find much more fascinating is its utility for resets. By keeping your strings randomized, you can easily condition your opponent into panic dodging or resetting them into a brand new combo string. We'll discuss this a bit more in the next section, but variety really is a spice of life. Mix up your cancels to keep your opponents on their toes and keep them guessing. Jumping over to number 6, we have cooldowns. So cooldowns are a very interesting concept that's been ingratiated in Multiversus. The game seems engineered from the ground up to prevent as much spammy behavior as possible. For some characters, cooldowns are nothing more than a mild inconvenience that hinders their ability in battle, but for others, if you use several moves with higher cooldown in quick succession, you are essentially shooting yourself in the foot until the cooldown expires. Characters such as Bugs Bunny and Velma come to mind for this. While the attacks with cooldowns may be extremely potent and you may be inclined to utilize it at its first accessibility, employing patience and strategy can help keep your opponent guessing as to what you have up your sleeve next. There are some attacks that can reduce cooldowns as well, and when used properly in team play, they can be an extremely potent combination. Jumping over to number 7, Attack Decay. So Attack Decay was something that was actually introduced in some of the later iterations of Smash. Essentially, in a nutshell, what it means is that if you keep spamming the same move over and over again, it loses a lot of its value, knockback properties and stuff like that. And the entire purpose of this is to prevent spammy behavior, right? In Multiversus, if at least 4 out of the 7 of the last attacks that you landed are the same move, you'll start experiencing Attack Decay, which it means it's going to be kind of, not essentially fully useless, but it's going to be noticeably bad. Take Taz, for example. Look at this. An Attack Decay is going to be easily avoidable. Each character comes with a pretty robust kit and at least more than one knockout move. However, if you feel the need to utilize a certain move numerous times, don't let the decay prevent you from utilizing it. It's more of a warning than a hard stop button. On the flip side, this is a great way to call out opponent patterns and to formulate a plan to punish anyone over abusing any tactic. And coming in at number 8, we have 1v1 versus 2v2. Now, while this game has a 1v1 and 2v2 mode, it's pretty clear that this game was made with the intention and design from the ground up for 2v2 to be played. Played about a day's worth of strictly 1v1, and between the map design and some of the very hard counters to certain character classes, at times it seemed to be more of a headache than what it's worth. It'll probably pan out as it gets on, but for now, I would certainly say that 2v2 is where this game and its characters blossom into its truest potential. Sadly, some characters have very limited utility in a 1v1 setting, however that is no longer an issue when you transition them over to a team setting. The myriad of combinations and techniques that can be employed in a team setting raise certain characters from being just okay to an indispensable ally. So what I'm trying to say is that if you feel your character or playstyle isn't necessarily excelling in a 1v1 environment, definitely give the team aspect a whirl. And coming in at number 9, we have defense. Now with the lack of a block or shield button of any type, you can feel that things are, well, a bit of spaghetti out there. As we discussed a bit in the movement section, the best option in most cases is to actually not be in that scenario at all, or if you can't physically escape, learning how to properly utilize dodges. Now dodge is a simple mechanic executed in either neutral state or when on the ground, left or right. In the air you have a bit more options and they give you access to an 8-way dodge. Dodges have a limited amount of invincibility, which can be key for preventing staggered attack attempts or potential resets if the opponent is matching out. And you can utilize a total of 2 aerial dodges in the air and 2 special moves. For the time being, it seems recovery in this game is quite lenient. However, this is going to change for sure when people will start dissecting this game in the future with edge guarding. I'm sure it's going to be quite menacing out there. Now, while dodges are a great way to escape danger, be wary of overdoing it and burning out your dodge meter, which will have you at a loss of one of your best defensive options. However, it does refill quite quickly when you deal damage or having damage dealt to you, so keep that in mind. So defense is going to be very key in this game. I think if you came from a background of Brawlhalla, Smash, or anything like that, you definitely have a bit of a leg up, but not having a block button is going to be a huge adjustment for a great deal of new players out there. So to close out, I want to talk about something that's pretty critical in fighting games. That's going to be knowing your game plan. And I want to close out with this topic because when you strip away all the layers to any fighting game, it really comes down to general macros and executing a game plan. This means taking the tools and tactics that your character excels in and employing them in a method that will consistently provide you with positive results. This isn't to dismiss things like adaptability or the ability to analyze and download opponents if necessary. This just means having a known game plan that brings out the best in your character while preying on the opposite character's faults. Kind of like Guile versus Zangief in Street Fighter. Keep them out, that's your general game plan. So for Multiversus, for an example of a game plan, an extremely simple one, let's take Harley. So what do we know about her? She's an extremely fast and nimble character who is vertical based. So the idea is to get in and out while attacking opponents while staying relatively safe. Remember that assassins are glass cannons that can be easily manhandled if overextended. Once you get your opponents at higher knockout values, the game plan will then switch to KOing by either utilizing her verticality or by using her hammer attack. This is very vanilla and very straightforward, but this is a basis that you can use to build a game plan for each respective character. Mind you, we're still like T-minus -30 days from the actual game's release, so naturally this will update and evolve as time goes on and the meta is pushed ever forward. So think about your character and their game plan, what they excel in, and try and have that as a macro that you always execute in each match. So there you have it, top 10 tips to help you along in your Multiversus journey. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, let's try and get 100 likes on the video, and subscribe for future Multiversus content. And feel free to join our community Discord where we discuss Multiversus and other games, and join us in the upcoming video where we discuss Taz and his idiotic tornado. LC signing out, peace.